My name's Hayden Fritz with K Fabrication. These are our rollout wheel kits. We're going to have a little tutorial today on how to put it together. So first off, you're going to start with your square tubing. We put it in a vise to make it a little bit easier to hold. You're going to start out with these two side pieces here. Really all the tools you're going to need is a good welder, preferably a MIG welder, and a square. So put it on here, and what we like to do is get it right inside this little corner. Just butt that up to the edge of the square tubing there. Hold it steady. Get you a couple little tacks on there, that way it'll hold. You need to make sure that these are square with each other, that way you got to put your bolts in there. Everything lines up good. So if it's off a lot, you know, your bolt ain't gonna go in there good. So you need it to be good and square with each other. That way your bolt comes in and out, and also with the pin. Alright, so next up, you're just going to pull this out, set it to the side. We're going to come over here to these pieces, little side brackets here. You're going to take this piece, and everything's sliding in tabs, so it can only go together one way. It can't fit together backwards or nothing. You know, you ain't going to tack it up like that. So you're going to put it in here just like this. Get a couple good little tacks in there. Take your square. Make sure everything's good and square. You're going to take the other side, do the same thing with it. Once again, make sure everything's good and square. Pretty close there. Now we'll pull this piece off. Jump back over here, throw this back in your vise or whatever you're using. And this is where these pins will come in. Alright, next up we're going to come over here to these brackets here. Take your next 3 or 4 inch bolt here. Those are going to go to the inside. That last set went on the outside of those. These are going to go to the inside. you want to, you can go ahead and throw this next pin in there. And you're gonna come over here, these will be your spindles that'll hold your spindle in there. Both of these here. Spindle will fit through there, and I'll show that here in a second. So you're gonna take this, make sure your bolt hole for your leveler is down towards the bottom. Slip it up through here. It's gonna fit right in there like that. So you're gonna throw a couple little tacks in there. Ain't gotta be nothing big. So how these slots and tabs work, I'll show you good here. As long as you get it in there and everything's butted up square, that tab fits in there real good, and these are flush here, flush up there at the top. That's all it needs, and that'll get you where you need to be at. Pretty close there. The key to this is just making sure everything's good and square. If you don't, it makes it a real pain to get your pins in and your bolts in and stuff. This next piece, small ears down at the bottom. I didn't quite do a good job on getting that real square there. Take this out. Just ensure everything's real good and tight. We're just gonna snug them up here. Just kind of show you how everything works once it's all put together. Real simple, obviously. Brake. Everything spins real true. Lock your brake up. And I'm not going to crank it too tight because nothing's welded out. And the play there is just in my vise. And your full leveler, in case you get parked on a hill or something, you can level it out still. And that's that. And our kits start out, they're $275. That includes shipping and all taxes. It'll include all your hardware, your 3 bolts, 4-inch bolts, your pins, all grade 8 hardware. Nothing's going to be breaking on you. 1/4-inch cut steel. You will need to supply an 8-inch chuck, your hub, and your 1 1/16 spindle. We have the part numbers from Tractor Supply, so they're easy to find anywhere that you're at, working or whatever. We got kits ready to ship. Send us a message and get yours. Thank you. So once you get both sides of that tacked up and everything's good and square, once again, I can't stress enough, make sure things are good and square. You can tell we're not quite perfect there, but it's okay. Just make sure everything bolts up real good. Slip your spindle in here, and our spindle's already bolted here to our hub. Yours will probably look a little bit different depending on where you get yours from. So with these 2 holes, it's got a little bit of play, and you can just go back, make sure your hub's square to either your tubing or the face here. So the back of your spindle, you don't want it to be way out there hitting your bolts or nothing, because if it's too far, you won't be able to get your pins in. We put the back of our spindle just flush with the back of this plate here, and that's all it needs. Throw a couple little tacks on it. So from there, once you get that, and you can do this piece first here, but it's easier to get that spindle down in there and see kind of how far back you need it before you throw this in. That piece is just going to set right on top there, just for extra bracing there. Give it a couple little tacks. Then from there, you're gonna go over to your brake. It's gonna be these two pieces here, along with this one.
Move your thumb. All right.
Get all these set up here. And this is where your last 4-inch bolt's gonna come in. You're gonna have 3 4-inch bolts. On the inside here. Make sure your hole is to the back. That way it'll hit that plate that we just tacked up just a minute ago. Might have to pull that one out. Pull that one out and tack it up. Like this. Here, what do we do it like this? You don't have to do your tacks real big. They just need it to hold in place and keep it a little bit square. Once again, make sure this hole is to the back. If not, your leveler won't be able to hit this plate here. It just won't work out that way. Alright. So we'll take that 4-inch bolt again, slip it back through here. Go ahead and throw your nut and washer in there. So here you're going to take this little piece here. This is going to be what's going to hit your hub. Put that down there. Make sure everything's hitting good. Throw a couple little tacks on it. So that's your main construction there. So you're gonna you got a 3-inch handle and a 2-inch handle that aren't lock nuts. You don't want to use a lock nut on this. Thread it on a little bit. That way you can make sure you hit your hole real good here. Once again, 3-inch up top for your brake. Set it in there. Throw a couple little tacks on it. There's your brake there. So for your leveler, same thing. Using your 4-inch bolt here. Thread it on a little bit. That way you can assure that whenever you slip it through the hole, there's plenty of clearance for it to thread pretty easy. Throw it in there. Then you got your leveler. So with our kits, it's do a horizontal weld. You turn it up to a 45. We can turn it up to a vertical or a 2G weld. And also, while you're traveling or whatever, driving around, this is how you could keep it. And this is what this pin's for. You didn't have that, it would just be flopping around. That's why we throw this pin in. So when you need to use your leveler, you'd have to pull this pin out, set it to the side. So using your leveler, pull that pin, and then you can fine tune from there, however you need to. So that's all the construction there. Tack it all up, make sure everything's good and square. Then you can go to welding it out. As far as bolting together, our hub, we've already knocked our studs out of it. You can knock them out and turn them around backwards, or we supply 4 2.5-inch bolts needed. And you'll take, this is where you'll take your spacers. I like to do 2 on the back. Throw the ring on there too, and it don't matter which way it goes. And then I'll throw this other spacer here. And depending on which hub and spindle you get, in order to get your dust cap on there, you may need the 3, you may just need 2 of them. And if you don't care about the dust cap, you won't need any of them at all. So I do the hex head towards the chuck, gives it a little bit more clearance there. Get all your bolts threaded in here and lock nuts on the back. And like I said earlier, ours hub and spindle, everything came together already, so you will need to knock the 4 studs out, and you can use these 2.5-inch bolts that we supply, or you can flip the studs around and use those also. So from there, make sure those are good and tight. Come over here and take your chuck, 8-inch chuck, using 3 machine bolts that are supplied with the chuck whenever you get it. Take it with our 3 bolt holes that are pre-cut into the wheel.